What's going on, everybody? It's Joel here, and today we're going to be going over some of the differences between the Nano 11 and the Nano 12. Alright guys, so I just got my review pair of Nano 12s in yesterday, and I'm going to be testing these over the next couple weeks, and hopefully I'll have a full-on performance review out on or before April 8th, which is the global launch day for the Nano 12. That's when everybody around the world is gonna have access to this shoe. If you are a US resident and you have Reebok unlocked though, you'll get early access to the Nano 12 in the limited edition orange heat colorway on April 1st. So make sure that you go to Reebok.com/Nano12 so that you can sign up for notifications on that drop. Today, we're gonna be talking about some of the differences that I have initially figured out between the Nano 11s and the Nano 12s. So, as some of you guys might know, I wasn't the hugest fan of the Nano 11. I thought that it was an okay training shoe, but when it came to actual CrossFit workouts, specifically lifting, it just wasn't my favorite. It was one of the first years in a long time that Nanos, I thought they just weren't very good. The Nano 12 hopefully fixes the problems that we had with the Nano 11. But first off, let's just talk about just the overall construction and changes to the upper of the Nano 12 versus the Nano 11. So we do have a re-engineered knit upper, and nowadays it's kind of like a combination of the flex weave knit, which was first coined on the Nano 11s, and then also the flex weave that was on the original flex weave that was still on the grits and the previous model Nanos like the Nano 9 and Nano 8. So there is a panel of that OG flex weave right at the toe box, and that's pretty much it. There's no other just normal flex weave anywhere throughout the shoe. The seamless look of the original of the Nano 11 is kind of gone. It's not like that one-piece upper look anymore, which honestly, it's not that big a deal to me. Now we only have that flex weave knit pretty much throughout the vamp of the shoe, and it ends where the vector, the middle of the vector is. So in the middle of the shoe, there's going to be this TPU piece that connects to the lacing system of the shoe, and I'll get back to that in a little bit, but that changes over to a harder, denser nylon woven material, which is separated pretty much by that middle vector part, and then it goes pretty much around the ankle collar of the shoe, and that's that same kind of nylon, kind of more taut material. What I really like about the Nano 12 so far is around the ankle collar, it just feels a little bit more snug and secure. The fit, because of that TPU piece in the middle and how it connects to the lacing system, the fit in the middle part of the shoe when you lace these up is really, really snug, or it can be really snug, and it fits really well. So one of the main points of contention with the Nano 11s was the tongue and how it just it was light and it just moved all over the place. The Nano 12s have a much more structured tongue. It's a little bit more padded. It feels a little bit more substantial. It does have a part that the laces can go through, so it keeps it in place a little bit better, but there's no gussets on the sides of the tongue. There's no booty or anything with this shoe, so it does have the tendency to want to slide around side to side. It's not nearly as bad as it was on the 11s, not even close, but it still has the tendency to want to do that. So in future iterations, I just hope that they just add gussets to the side so it just doesn't slip around. Coming to the back portion of the shoe, where you're going to find the TPU heel clip. So it does not rise quite as high as it did with the Nano 11s. It still has that same basic shape, and it extends pretty much from the heel part where you have that little TPU heel clip for handstand push-ups to just about the metatarsal area of the shoe. The structure of it feels a little bit more solid. Even though it's cut down a little bit, it feels a little bit more dense and hard than the Nano 11s did. And I think the support around the ankle is just overall better in the 12 because of the like more taut material around the ankle collar. So another area that people hated with the Nano 11s was that back heel rake. They thought that it came up too aggressively and sharp and went too far in. And I think the heel rake angle is pretty much identical. It's a little bit higher on the Nano 11s than it is on the 12s. But one thing that I did notice is that they did cut down some of the padding that's at the Achilles area, and they did kind of like widen it out a little bit with the Nano 12. If you can see there, it's a little bit like more narrow on the 11s and then a little bit wider on the 12s. I haven't noticed anything or any kind of uncomfort or discomfort wearing the Nano 12s, but I have only been wearing like long socks, screw socks. But I think that that problem should be fixed on the 12s because of the way that they reshaped the Achilles area of the shoe. All right, so let's talk about the midsole of the Nano 12s in comparison to the 11s. So the 11s had this design in which it made it feel like your toes always felt like they were floating off the ground, and then when you want to really drive your toes into the ground, it would rock the back part of the shoe up, causing this instability, and that could lead to some precarious situations when you're doing your lifting movements. And that's the main reason why I did not like the Nano 11s. When it came down to the actual density and feel of the midsole, I actually thought it was pretty good. I thought that they were soft enough to do runs in, plyometric movements were good. They were very responsive. I didn't ever really notice them compressing under heavy loads or anything like that. I did not like the fact that they were kind of tall, but otherwise I thought that the actual midsole foam, which is the Float Ride Energy foam, was pretty good. On the Nano 12s, you still have that Float Ride Energy foam, and it runs pretty much throughout the length of the shoe. You do get a carrier foam on the outside of it, but otherwise it's the same kind of genetic like makeup. As you can see through the bottom of the shoe, it still has that kind of like styrofoam look. But with the Nano 12s, I will say that the foam and the density feels a little bit more firm, which I actually like. The insole on these is anatomical, it's molded, and it does provide good immediate underfoot comfort. But otherwise, I thought that the density of these just feels a little bit stiffer than it did on the 11s, just a little bit. What I did notice the most though is that at the very front of the shoe, it feels like they added some more midsole cushioning. So in turn, that actually makes the shoe feel a little bit more flat. Another thing that I did notice was that the angle of the toe spring is pushed a little bit further forward on the 12s in comparison to the Nano 11s. It's pretty noticeable when you look at them on flat ground, side by side. And those two things, just that added midsole cushioning in the forefoot of the shoe and the angle being pushed a little bit more forward, makes these shoes feel way better. Like, I did some front squats in them yesterday and I never noticed myself getting pitched forward. I mean, they are front squats, so there's naturally going to be a forward bias when you do them, but I didn't feel like I would be rocked forward to the point where I couldn't recover that front squat. And that immediately was a huge upgrade over the Nano 11s. Another thing that I did notice, which led me to believe that they added more forefoot cushioning, was that when I was doing my double unders, I did notice that they were a lot easier on my toes than the Nano 11s were. And it might be a small little detail, but it improves the feel of the shoe by a long shot over the 11s. Okay, so now taking a look at the outsole of the shoe, which is pretty much the exact same thing as it was last year. I don't really notice any differences between the shoe. Hopefully they reinforced the medial area of the shoe, which has the Rope Pro, which is kind of this just a little ledge there at the edge of the outsole, because that's the main area that the 11s failed in. That area would get pulled away from the shoe, pretty much rendering them useless for rope climbs. I forgot to mention that the drop of the Nano 12s is still that 7mm drop that was first coined on the Nano 11s, and you would think that with all of the material differences and changes and increases in the midsole, that the Nano 12s would be a lot heavier than the 11s were, but they actually aren't. I weighed the Nano 11s in at 11.3 ounces for a men's size 10, and the Nano 12s only came in at 11.7 ounces. So a slight increase, but really not that much more. All right, so now I'm going to quickly touch on the way that the Nano 12s fit in comparison to the 11s. So I always wear a size 10, and with the Nano 11s, I actually had to size down to a 9.5 because I thought that they fit just on the big and wide side. So if you have a wide foot, you probably like the way that the Nano 11s fit, but I have a pretty normal shaped foot. With the Nano 12s, I'm going to say that true to size is probably going to be the way to go with this shoe. I got them in a size 10 again, and like I said a little bit earlier, just from the differences in materials and whatnot, they feel a little bit more narrow, a little bit more fitted, I'd say. If you had a narrow foot, then you might still want to go with that half size down, but I think if you have a normal to wider foot, just go with your normal training shoe size, and I think that you're going to be okay with the way that these shoes feel. They do still fit on the wide side. I'm going to put that right out there. Like, even though I said that they do feel a little bit more fitted than the 11s did, they still are on the wide side. And if you compare them to like Metcons, if you compare them to Under Armours or pretty much any other shoe on the market, Nano 12s are gonna feel a little bit or a lot more wide than those shoes do. Okay, so that's pretty much it with the Nano 12s. I don't want to talk too much about performance of them just yet. I only did a single workout in them yesterday, which consisted of rope climbs, GHDs. I did some heavy front squats earlier for strength, and then I had some double unders in that same workout. And I will say for rope climbs, I thought that they had excellent traction. Durability, I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, the TPU part is kind of shredding away. The rubber seems like it's okay for right now. The knit material seems like it's actually wearing pretty well. When it came to double unders, they were extremely comfortable. I had absolutely no problems doing my double unders in these shoes. Like I said, there's a little bit more, it feels like there's a little bit more forefoot cushioning in these. The flexibility is on point. The fit is excellent. I didn't notice any uncomfortable areas with this shoe. And when it came to the front squats, I was very, very impressed by the way that this shoe felt. I didn't notice any lack of power delivery. Like the midsole is still tall, so it can still feel a little bit vague, but it doesn't compress. I think the responsiveness is still very good, and the shoes feel much easier to get your toes grounded with than the 11s did. It feels much more flat in the forefoot of the shoe. And if I had to say anything, it feels pretty comparable to the way that the Froning Nano 11s felt. But we'll see after more testing. I really have to put these through a lot more lifts in order to make a full-on judgment call on how they are for lifting. But anyways, the Nano 12s are going to retail for $135. So they do get a slight price increase over the Nano 11s, and that's to be expected. Almost everything has gone up in price over the last couple of years, so you can't really expect that shoes are not going to be affected by that same issue with the global supply chain and whatnot. If you guys have any further questions about the Nano 12s, anything that you want me to answer for the performance review of these shoes, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Make sure that you guys are also following me on Instagram so that you can get all the latest updates with the Nano 12s and how I'm using them and what workouts I'm using them in. And I'm also always answering questions on Instagram as well. So if you have questions, you can just ask them there. I'm like always available. That's it for this video. Like I said, this is like just differences between the Nano 12s and the Nano 11s video, kind of first impressions. Not really talking about the performance of these shoes yet because I can't really say that yet. But hopefully I'll have that full-on performance review out by the 8th, hopefully by next week. That's what I'm shooting for. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If you guys like this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, and thanks for watching, guys.